After a relative drought in the RPG space, 2023 has blessed us with a cornucopia of great role-playing games with even more on the horizon. We've even seen the revitalization of dormant franchises like Fable, Dragon's Dogma, and most recently, Dungeon Hunter, which hasn't seen a new game in the series since 2015. Until now. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the upcoming installment in the Dungeon Hunter franchise. For the uninitiated, Dungeon Hunter 6 is an MMO ARPG in a fantasy setting. The gameplay features fast-paced hack-and-slash style combat with a variety of builds and skills to utilize as you vanquish big bosses and clear mobs to collect valuable loot. If you enjoy games like Diablo, Lost Ark, or Baldur's Gate 3, then this might be up your alley. Big shout out to the developers Goat Games for sponsoring this video and providing me with early access to the game so I could try it out for myself. Today we'll be previewing the gameplay and different classes you can build in Dungeon Hunter 6 so you can get a feel for the game and see if it piques your interest. If you want to learn more, click on the link in the description to pre-register for the full launch of Dungeon Hunter 6. The game will be available on Android and iOS at release. So let's dive into the various classes you can build in Dungeon Hunter 6. At the beginning of the game, you can select from one of 5 different classes: Mage, Warrior, Boon Sister, Assassin, and Archer. I was able to play with each of these classes during my access to the beta version of the game, with the exception of the Archer. So let's walk through some of the gameplay styles and kits of each of these classes. As a lover of all things arcane, I decided to start with the Mage class. It also helps that the Mage character is an absolute baddie. Mages are the glass cannons in this game, pumping out some of the highest DPS, but offering little in the way of survivability. Thankfully, since all of our attacks are ranged abilities, we can adeptly avoid taking damage. All classes are equipped with a normal attack, 3 abilities, and 1 ultimate ability. The name of the game is learning your rotation and proccing the abilities at the right time to maximize your DPS. The 3 primary abilities of mages are Arcane Rain, Arcane Orb, and Arcane Ray. Arcane Rain summons a storm of magical damage from the heavens over a large area of effect. It's an incredibly high damage ability, but you have to be careful when casting it because you'll be stationary for the first few seconds when the ability starts. Arcane Orb is a giant ball of magic that you can launch at your opponents. It can build up multiple charges over time that you can discharge one by one when the time is right. Finally, Arcane Ray is a big Kamehameha blast of energy that you can adjust and target over a narrow area of effect. It reminds me a lot of Comet Azure from Elden Ring, except that you can actually change the angle of it while you're casting. This was my favorite mage ability, and I spammed this on cooldown every chance I could. Mages also get an ultimate ability called Arcane Storm, which is basically a higher damage version of Arcane Rain, with a flashy finisher animation to go along with it. Unsurprisingly, this was my absolute favorite class to play in the game. I guess I'm just a stan for mages. Warriors are the real gigachads of the Dungeon Hunter universe. They really remind me of the Whirlwind Barbarians from Diablo. If you like playing as a hulking brute, whirlwinding through enemies with a big-ass sword, then this is the class for you. This class excels in strength and survivability. However, you'll likely be taking more damage if you're not skilled at dodging and maneuvering, because you won't have any ranged abilities in this kit like you would with mages and assassins. The 3 main abilities of warriors are Whirlwind Slasher, Charging Strike, and War Rampage. Whirlwind Slasher is by far my favorite of the 3. It allows you to spinny spin with your sword, cleaving your way through the battlefield in a reckless whirlwind of mayhem. You can control the direction of the whirlwind through the duration of the ability, and I pretty much just spammed this on cooldown for my entire time playing Warrior. Charging Strike is basically a bull rush which allows you to blast in for a high damage strike. You can adjust the direction of your charge before releasing the ability. And finally, War Rampage is a ground slam ability. These were cool, but honestly I just whirlwinded as much as possible with the Warrior, so I didn't use these abilities nearly as much. The Warrior's ultimate is called Execute, which is pretty badass as well whenever you can use it. Personally, I preferred playing as a mage over the Warrior, but it's undeniable that this is an incredibly powerful class. So if you like melee builds, you're going to love the Warrior. Assassins are basically the vampire hunters of the Dungeon Hunter universe. dual-wielding crossbows and summoning a barrage of bolts to vanquish their opponents. Piercing Shot sends a high-damage single shot at your target. This is probably the weakest ability in the kit, and I much prefer the Spray ability, which blasts out a rain of arrows to deal massive AoE damage. I spammed this one as much as possible along with the Final Assassin ability. This one allows you to summon a falcon to battle alongside you, which is really great for distracting enemies or just dishing out a little extra damage. The Quick Shot ultimate summons a hail of crossbow bolts to totally own your enemies. I honestly didn't expect to like this class, but this was surprisingly one of the most fun to play. It's giving Van Helsing vibes. Boon Sister is a defensive and buff-oriented magical class. She's basically a cleric, but surprisingly one of the best all-around classes in the game. She has a mix of damage-dealing abilities as well as ones that can buff and heal yourself and your allies. Wrath of the Boon Trees is similar to Arcane Rain, providing AoE spirit damage over a large area of effect. This is going to be your go-to damage-dealing ability with the Boon Sister. Favor of the Boon Trees is a supremely powerful buff that gives you a shield and heals you and any companions within its area of effect. You definitely want to use this one sparingly for crucial situations in difficult fights, and it can be a real lifesaver. Graceful Blessing summons a gigantic tree that stunlocks your enemy and deals a small amount of damage as well. This is great for turning a big boss into a target dummy or getting yourself away from the swipe of a melee opponent. Finally, your ultimate ability, Spiritual Awakening, summons a lightning storm of massive spirit damage. Boon Sister doesn't deal as much damage as the Mage, but the buffing and healing abilities make her a better all-around class in my opinion. I still personally prefer playing as a glass cannon DPS arcane user, but the power of the Boon Sister should not be overlooked. Throughout your journey, you will also unlock and collect a variety of hero characters to help you vanquish mobs and bosses. The first lieutenant you unlock is Valen Sentinel, an SR rank archer focused on damage and bursting down enemies. You'll eventually build a team of 3 lieutenants to fight alongside your main character, and you unlock these through a standard gacha summoning system. Summoning scrolls will be earned as you play the game and complete various levels and dungeons. And of course, this wouldn't be a proper ARPG without the famous loot explosions when you kill mobs. ARPGs are all about the pursuit of legendary gear to improve your power and perfect your build. It's also worth mentioning that the game will have PvP content in addition to your standard single-player modes, so keep an eye out for that when the game reaches its full release. Dungeon Hunter 6 is poised to launch in October, and if you're interested in staying up to date, be sure to click on the link in the description or scan the QR code to pre-register for the game. Pre-registration is completely free, and you can earn a bunch of cool rewards when the game launches, like 10 summoning scrolls and an SSR demonic wolf. If you're a fan of Dungeon Hunter and are excited about the game, let me know in the comments section below. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to Big Dan Gaming for more RPG videos. Big shout out to the developers Goat Games for sponsoring this video. And as always, big shout out to all my channel members for supporting my content. Until next time, this has been Big Dan. I should go.